Today I'm going to be covering a topic that a lot of people have been requesting, especially in my WhatsApp group. How can we take our knowledge and all of the work that we do with artificial intelligence and use it across our different tools? How can we centralize so that our AI tools know what is going on in different parts of our life and we do not forget? Super important, especially if you are a power user of artificial intelligence and you find that you're using Codex, Claude Code, ChatGPT, Gemini, OpenClaw, Hermes. Maybe you are doing things in different places and none of the tools are communicating. Massive problem. And you end up with a big, messy system. You've probably seen a number of viral posts, especially on somewhere like Twitter, but I think they are probably coming to LinkedIn at this point, which tends to be a bit lagging, talking about Obsidian and Obsidian vaults. You've probably seen great looking diagrams like these kind of graph structures of how all of your knowledge can be captured into a system, connected together, and an AI has overview of that and is able to pull from it. Really cool looking stuff, very visually attractive, but not necessarily where we want to start this process. So we're going to be talking about Obsidian, but we're also going to be talking about the underlying structure that is going to be powering an Obsidian vault like this. So we're going to keep it nice and high level. I'm not going to get too technical. And I'm going to show you how we can have an AI build all of this for us. It's going to interview us, get the information it needs, and then build it out. So we're going to be completely non-technical. We're going to keep this very light, very easy, so that everybody can have access to this, because it's one of the biggest problems in artificial intelligence. Cool. So the problem right now, if you're using AI in the year 2026, is that our context, our memory, our information, our data is scattered all over the place. You might use ChatGPT on your telephone and you're having a little chat with it, but then your Claude Code back on your desktop at home has no knowledge of that. Maybe you're using Codex on your laptop, and again, none of these are able to talk to each other. This means that you're going to lose context, and you as the human operator will need to port information from one to the other, which is very annoying, very, very time consuming, or dangerous when certain AIs don't have that full knowledge and they are working on false assumptions. That is a huge problem in artificial intelligence right now, and I know a lot of people have asked me about how they deal with this. So you might have chats in Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok. You might have custom GPTs. You might have different projects which have their own memory. You're going to have different agents running for you, different projects like GitHub repos. Maybe you have client projects and they're in a separate folder. You don't want them to intermingle with others. This is a big issue. How do we manage all of this without us as the human becoming the bottleneck? The very basic answer to this is something called a Markdown file. You've probably seen this .md. A Markdown file is basically a Word document, but it is a stripped down format. It doesn't have all of the format and all of the fluff that you would find in something like a Word document. I'm going to actually open up OpenClaw. So this is the kind of back of OpenClaw. You've probably heard of OpenClaw. I'm looking at this because it is visible. So you can see all of the folders inside of OpenClaw, all of the YAML files, JSON files, etc., etc. You don't necessarily need to know what these are. What we're looking for are these ones here, these .md files. And the one that I have open here is actually readme.md. And as you can see, it is just a document. MD stands for Markdown, which is the type of formatting that we use to format it nicely like this, but it is basically a text document. Nice and simple. So a lot of our information and the way we're going to connect our memory across different AIs is by creating these documents, these type of sources of truth inside of Markdown files that all of our different tools can access. That is, at the base of all of this, all we are doing. We are documenting and creating a filing system that our different AI tools can use. It's not that fancy. That's why we're keeping it relatively simple. So Markdown is the format that we generally use. It is basically a plain text file with very simple formatting using Markdown. Humans can read it, AIs can read it, apps can share it. Super important, very boring, not sexy. Doesn't have these cool graph structures, anything like that. It is just a Word document. Sorry, just a text file, not a Word document. Very important. So what happens with Obsidian is that it allows you to basically structure and have multiple folders and multiple layers of these types of files. And it allows you to capture all of your knowledge in something called a second brain. And Obsidian in particular has this really cool feature where you can start to connect the pieces of information. So you can use tags, you can use links to start to connect them together. And then it's able to group everything up in this incredibly visually pleasing way, all of your knowledge. The thing is, that's not particularly useful to the AI. What is useful is the fact that the AI has access to the text documents. This, the lovely interface, this is more for us. This is for us as humans to be able to see all of this information as a human layer and be like, okay, cool, I can see how this fits together. The AI doesn't really need this. This is more for us. So 100% use Obsidian, but use it for yourself rather than necessarily for the AI. The AI is smart. It doesn't need to see it in the same way that we do. So 100% use it. It is not required. So Obsidian itself is not the brain. Obsidian will have a centralized folder that it looks at, or a set of folders, and that's something called a vault. The vault is the thing. The vault is what we need to work on. That is where we're going to capture everything about our lives, about our work, about our clients, about how we make our money. We're going to capture that into a vault, and then Obsidian sits on top of that. So the thing is the vault. Now, for me, personally, I'll show you the kind of structure that I have. I will have a folder that has personal, and then inside of that, there will be different folders like health, like travel, home. I recently relocated, so we're setting up the new home, etc. Will be separate little folders within the personal folder. Then I'll have business. Business will have different clients, it will have different things we're working on, it will have my content system, etc. These will again be different folders within the business folder. And then you might have a specific projects folder where you have pieces of software that you're building, for example, workflows, prompts. This is just a folder. It is not that sophisticated. Again, Obsidian is going to sit on top of that, make it look nice. But the main thing is this folder structure here. What we're going to do is we're going to ask the AI to help us structure this. So we're going to have the AI interview you. You're going to put a prompt into something like Claude, into something like Codex, saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build a tool agnostic system that will be able to access my memory, that will be able to work on personal projects, business projects, software projects, anything together. And you're going to save all of that information so that it can be accessed in Codex, that it can be accessed in Claude Code, or any of the AI tools that I use. You're going to tell the AI that, and it's going to help you structure the folders based on what you particularly need. And it's going to use best practices. It's going to automatically include things like a readme file, agents file, CLAUDE.md file. I won't go into the technical details here, but the agents file, if we go to the OpenClaw, here it is basically a set of instructions for any AI agent that it is meant to read first. And it tells it, hey, this is what the project is. These are the rules you need to follow. And it gives it that as something to kind of bootstrap it before it begins its work. And CLAUDE.md is kind of a similar thing, but it is for Claude agents specifically. And if you look at the OpenClaw one, in the CLAUDE.md, which is the first thing that Claude Code is going to look for, the only thing that it says inside the CLAUDE.md is AGENTS.md. So it's basically saying, hey, Claude, I know you want to use something called CLAUDE.md. I don't really have one. Instead, go and look at AGENTS.md. So this is a very clever way to make sure that all of your tools go to the same single source of truth. You are not creating multiple sets of instructions for all of your tools. You just have one, which in this case is something called AGENTS.md. And you can see this is a big, long list of instructions, things it can do, things it should not do. For example, keep old behavior only for an explicit public API config, SD key data, contract, tagged upgrade path, security migration boundary, dependency contract, or observe production state. This is not the kind of thing that would have been written initially when this AGENTS.md was put together, but has been added later as the project expanded. This document changes. So this document, because it is the instructions that all the agents, all of the AIs will look at, this is a living document that will constantly change, that will constantly evolve based on how you work with your AI tools. So that kind of thing, the thing that I just read, is far too specific. That's been put in because something went wrong, and the people building OpenClaw decided, okay, we need to add a little rule, a little instruction. So that's been added in later. But I'm not going to go into the massive technical details here. We are just going to have the AI interview us, and it is going to build this structure for us. I would recommend for this using Codex or Claude Code. ChatGPT will not be able to do this because it's not going to be able to set up a folder for you. It's not going to be able to create a folder structure or create files inside of it. So use Claude Code or Codex. And here, for example, is an interview prompt. I want to create a vendor agnostic AI vault that acts as a shared brain across my tools. Use Markdown files and folders. Interview me one question at a time about my daily life and roles, my work and active projects, repeated context, workflows I want AI to help with, privacy boundaries. Then propose a vault to structure readme.md, agents.md, templates and migration plan. Ask me the first question now, and it will deal with all of the technical setup for you. Now, I highly recommend for this kind of interview process, use a microphone. Put in a prompt like this, and then when Codex or Claude Code asks you these questions, use the microphone to relay all the information. So when I set up my first vault, that's talking about business, I just yapped. I yapped for about 20 minutes, like, hey, so there's a few projects that I've got at the moment. I'm spinning a few plates. These are the priorities. These are the things that we need to do. These are the things I want to capture for doing later. These things I have blocks on. And the AI was able to use that to structure the folders based on my priorities for life. So this is going to be the shared repository, the shared folder structure that you're going to have in Claude Code, that you're going to have inside of Codex, that you're going to have inside of Obsidian. Be coming back to this shared folder. Now, if you want to be smart, and I highly recommend this, you make this folder a GitHub repo. So I would recommend setting this folder up as a GitHub repository, connecting all your tools into it, and it means they're all connected to the same cloud container that has everything going on in your life. And what you then have is a durable vault, which can be used across all of your different tools, and it's going to change over time. The durable context is the things that you create will be saved into your vault as well. When you create a new project, you'll spin up a new folder. It will refer to the README file, the agents file, and it will follow how you like to work. Any new decisions, make sure you put it in there. New tasks, I personally have a to-do list inside of my vault, which is always accessible to all of my tools. So you are just going to start to flesh out this vault. And the more you use it, the more information and context there is inside of the vault, the more powerful that's going to be for you moving forward. And again, this folder, this vault, is independent from Obsidian. So just because people are saying you need Obsidian, remember that Obsidian is primarily a layer on top, which is going to allow you to see inside, but it is not necessarily required by your artificial intelligence tools. They just need all of this context. So I highly recommend starting with an interview prompt like this. Again, just go into Codex, go into Claude Code and say, I want to build this today. This is what I'm aiming at. Interview me about my life, and that's it. That's all you need to do right now. Don't worry about the technical details. Start here, and then you'll be able to grow and build this system over time. So this topic we just did about creating an AI brain, putting an Obsidian vault on top of it, this will be in the newsletter, as will the polished YouTube video, edited video. So make sure you're subscribed. That's going to be on aiwithkyle.com. Totally free to subscribe. And there's newsletters Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.